Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another Last Epoch dev stream. Oh, look at that. I'm your host, Mike. Let's hop right in. Oh, and I've just realized that I'm not wearing my Last Epoch shirt. We're just gonna... One second, I'm just gonna get... use this Be Right Back screen that I've never used before. There we go, flawless open. Nothing happened. Everything's normal. There's no sound settings that are changed slightly from last time that I have to fix. Everything's perfect. So, last time, if you missed it, a couple days ago, we had a special guest on who did some live art. I just want to let everyone know that we're going to be doing that again. We're going to have, on Wednesday, we're going to be joined by our VFX artist, Sam, who's going to be doing some live VFX creation, which is going to be sweet. So we're going to do a little bit more of the how it's made, you know. Take a look and see how the sausage is made. So we're going to have Sam on here, and he's going to go through some VFX. He does almost all the VFX creation stuff. Been getting some help from Mimer recently, but yeah, he does a lot of it, which is really impressive. We also have a little poll that I'll be posting a link to that will get if people want to vote on which VFX he's going to work on during that stream, and I'll post more info about that a little bit later as well. I am having a great Friday. Yeah, we're just going to be doing our usual thing today. You know, going through continuing on Fenton, who is our shaman here. We're gone. Primary damage is coming from Warcry, Tempest Strike, Maelstrom, and Storm Totem. Let's see if I can find the link to that poll. Is that public yet? I think it's public. Yeah, it just went up 6 minutes ago. Great. So there's the link to that poll. So if you are interested in voting, and I'll post that link a little while later again. If you're interested in voting on which VFX we're going to look at on stream and give it a bit of a freshen up, a little rejuvenation, that's the place to go. I don't know if I should vote, but there's one in here that I certainly want the most. I'm going to do it. So we were a little bit, during last stream when we were getting that 2D art paint over from Nifty. Not paint over, but concept art for the Reaper done. I did a little bit of questing in the monolith here. I didn't get to much, but yeah, move things along a touch. Draw out the third druid form for us. You know, the thing is that even if I did that, you still would have no idea what it is, because I'm that good at drawing. Yeah. Yeah. You'd be like, that is a form, I'm sure. It looks like something, probably. And I cannot wait for the new AI coming in for all the pets. Whee! My pets are really weak. They're not great, but you know, there's a distraction. Oh, Lizard got a question. Oh, yep. I need to not take my hand off the keyboard as much. Lizard's got a question about solo, whether it's have a full solo experience or just loot. Yeah, there will be a mode that is pure solo that does not where you're not ever interacting with other players. It's as though it was offline, but is online for the purposes of authentication, I guess you could say. Still got it. Ellie res might be nice to grab. I heard there was gonna be some leaks. Is there gonna be some leaks? Yeah, there's gonna be some leaks, of course. You think I'd come to you guys without leaks? Quick, someone get me some leaks. No, I've got some. I've got some. Not sure if this is the place to ask this question. Ask questions. It's a great place to ask questions. But is there any chance for companions being added to the game? I'm going to keep reading because not in the sense of animated armor or Beastmaster summons, but in a hireling. Oh, like mercenaries from D2. That would allow further synergies and build diversification. It's unlikely that we'll add them anytime soon, at least not before 1.0 launch. It's possible that could be something that comes maybe in a cycle that we try out, and if it works well, gets added in fully. We really want to, like, generic, how does this? One of the main ways we approach game design for any of the classes, designing skills, designing passives, anything we do, one of our pillars is class identity. And if all of the hirelings are the same for all of the classes, it homogenizes the classes to some degree. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's lots of things that the classes do have an overlap, like items, for example. There's a lot of items that work in multiple classes. But it might, for right now at least, we're not going to be adding in mercenary hirelings, partially because there's like certain classes would be able to take vastly more effect for them. So like Paladin and Primalist would probably have a way better time taking advantage of them, just because they have so many more group buff things. And that's not to say we couldn't balance them in other ways, but for now, at least until launch, no hirelings, no mercenaries. But good question, very good question. Lone Star McFluffin, I heard there was going to be some mono leaks. Is there going to be some mono leaks? Technically one of them. Yeah, I have a little one. It's not much of a leak for the monolith, though. It's more of just a glow up of something you already know about. But I think it looks really cool, so. I'm teasing the teasers. Aaron from Action RPG says, Mike, my question is about attacking as different, or attacking at different elevations. It seems to not work well whether you're shooting, attacking up or down. Thoughts? Yeah, so I'm assuming you're just talking specifically about bow attacks. There's lots of things we do on many different skills to try and accommodate different heights. It's very tricky to have it work properly, partially because it's really expensive performance-wise, like not money-wise, but performance-wise. When I say expensive, so like computationally expensive, to sometimes figure out exactly what the landmark or the landscape is between 2 points to like have an arrow behave quite perfectly. So like, for example, should it assume that there's like an even slope in between the things? Is there is it a cliff that's happening? There's all sorts of different things, and it's really hard to get that just right. We do plan to work on it more because it's not perfect for sure. There's lots of little things, like I remember making disintegrate and casting that up and down a slope was a nightmare. It's still not perfect, but it's decent. And part of the reason we're able to do that is because only one disintegrate, you can only have one disintegrate active at a time because it's channeled. So there's not this constant calculation of 80 different things, but like an arrow with multi-shot, having it, multi-shot's a really good example of this actually, because it doesn't get the target point for every single arrow. It just gets the target point for the arrow you shoot, and then puts all the other ones out at a relative angle to those. So if you have like, just draw my screen really quick. Say you have a slope here. There's like a, I'm terrible drawing. You'll see why. Say there's like a space up here, and this is a ramp going up. Yeah, try and get some perspective in there a little bit. Whatever. So if you shoot one multi-shot arrow targeting here, they're going to go up on this angle, and then all of them are going to go up as well. But if there's something standing on the ground here, or here, it's not going to hit that because it's going to go over its head because it's aiming as though it was aiming up here, so it's going to just scoot right over it. There's lots of edge cases and things like that we've got to work on. But yeah, that is important to us to get feeling better. With regards to affix tiers, can you give any info on if you are set a 1 to 5 with C6-7 as a chase, or are there any plans to change this further as part of larger crafting pieces? It's not in the immediate future. We've been pretty happy with the pace that 5 tiers gives. It is built in such a way that we could add more, and it's not terrible. We did have that in mind, but I'm personally pretty happy with how it's working, and I think in general we are not looking for major changes, specifically with the crafting changes I've been teasing. It doesn't look like those crafting changes are going to be happening this patch necessarily. It's unclear right now, so we're still on the fence on them. It's a really difficult system, and if we make a major change like this, it's hard to go back. So we want to make sure we're really happy with it first. It might end up being its own little micro patch. We're still not 100% sure what's going to happen there. The visuals for that panel are getting updated either way, which is great. Any leaks on how the Shade of Orbos is going to function? No, I don't have any leaks on how the Shade of Orbos is going to function yet. But it's going to be pretty sweet. I was fighting a particularly fun version of it the other day. I know Reimer's been testing it a lot. Hi Mike, any plans of adding damage type related dying FX, like burning fire enemies into an like if you light an enemy on fire to kill it, the VFX of it dying be like a burning ash thing? That's a cool idea. I don't think we've talked about that really. That would be really cool. So no plans for it yet, but you know, who knows. As a follow-up, I guess, is there room to breathe on stat ranges within tiers? Thank you for your insight, though. Oh, like for the, like T1 to 5, making those ranges bigger. Yeah, there's, like, we can change those, and we have changed them quite a few times. Last patch, there was a pretty big change in how we did that, so we made it so that previously, the tier 6 started where tier 5 ended, so a perfectly rolled T5 was the same basically as a inverse perfectly rolled T6 affix, and that kind of felt bad, and even if you perfect for it to feel bad, because it's just such a minor jump when you can't craft it and it's hard to find and all this sort of stuff. So we made it so that the ranges on T6 and 7 were a little bigger, and there was a gap between T5 and T6, which I think helped a lot. We can do things like that again. That's not a one-time thing, and that's, I'm sure, something we'll continue to tweak as time goes on. And each individual stat and affix does get small changes like that pretty frequently as well. Are you guys satisfied with skills for classes? Any changes planned maybe for Forge Guard? Yeah, there's I can't remember which skills exactly are talking about for Forge Guard right now, but I think there's one skill missing for Forge Guard, question mark. And for the most part, the Forge Guard skills I'm pretty happy with personally. They're definitely not high on the list for reworks for the most part. There's some skills like the stances that I've mentioned before, and there's some base class skills and some paladin skills and some Void Knight skills. I'd say of the three, Forge Guard's the least on the rework list. Minion tooltip will be in 8.2 as promised. We're working on it. It's not done yet, so no guarantees. No guarantees until it's done. It's really tricky to get right. I was just talking to someone in Ask the Devs today, and I hope that it illustrated a little bit on how difficult the minion stuff is to do properly, because they're basically their own characters that have their own set of skills, that have their own stats, their own cooldowns, everything. So it's really tricky to have everything displayed properly and have it be not horribly misleading. He just fell right over. He wanted a nap. He was sleepy. With regards to SSF and the like, are there any plans for a mode that's like group found or something, like D3 style looting or something? Like trade within only guild, something other than no trade or full trade? I would say whatever trading system we use will be fairly universal. It'll probably be a... that's a hard question to answer. So, there likely won't be a third mode, no. It'll likely be a... you're either in whatever our trading system is or you're not. And there won't be a further like segregation of the community on trade. If that makes any sense. Seeing as how we pick up most, I can see where this question's going. If not all shards, are there plans for shards to be auto-looted like gold is? Not at the moment, but you're always welcome to leave suggestions. Are there any plans to add sounds to the loot filter? Yeah, that is something we'd like to do. If we do add sounds to the loot filter, I don't know why I opened my passive tree, it would have a similar situation here where there's a... we've talked about this, and it's not happening this patch. But it may happen later down the road once we come back in and do a bit of an overhaul, not an overhaul, but a refresh to this. Because there's a few things we've been getting requests for in the loot filter, and we like to sort of collect that data, figure out the most important things, and then give that as a task to someone to like implement everything all at once, instead of just doing like, here's one little task, here's one little thing, and because it takes a lot longer to do that way, and you end up with a better end product if it's all done with one task in mind, or with all the little tasks in mind. So yeah, with sounds, it would be a situation where you'd get a list of sounds to pick from, and not just put sound in folder X on your computer and it will grab that, because we don't want inappropriate sound 47 being the loot filter sound that goes out in like in a stream or something, and it misrepresents. Like, it's really hard to have something like a sound be clear that it's not something we put in the game. If that makes any sense? Yeah. All right. Any ETA on Detonate Corpse? It's been sitting there for a while. Yes. Negative infinity. It's not going to get a skill tree. However, it's kind of being reworked. There's a skill volatile zombie. It's like Detonate Corpse, just you get to move the corpse around before it explodes. That is coming. It's been teased that you will see next patch. Are there any base weapon types that are not in the game that you want to add? Yeah, there's tons. Ones you'll see pre-launch? Probably none. The things we'll add probably after the fact in updates. But yeah, there's definitely item types that I'd like to see, especially. And this is by no means a list of confirmation of things that will get added, but ones that come to mind are things like crossbows, fist weapons, this is the biggest two that come to mind personally. What kind of the big two that were javelins? What else are we missing? There's lots of them that have been talked about, and we're just not ready to put them in yet. There's a lot of things about like if something. So I think javelin's a really good example. There's no class right now that really has an overly thematic connection to a javelin, and that might be me, just my bias of having that so strongly linked to an Amazon in my head. But there's not much of a big heavy link to javelin yet. So maybe there's a new mastery class that comes out that's a I don't know, a primalist subclass, or a sentinel mastery class, or something else that uses javelins as a primary weapon, and javelins get added to the game. Maybe there's a whole new base class that gets added, and javelins get added with it or something. There's a lot of different things that could happen, but yeah, we're still looking at those for sure. There's the list of things we want to do is dramatically longer than the list of things we can do or will do before launch, and that's a good thing, really. We want to have lots of great ideas that we can expand into post-launch and keep things exciting and fresh. Any base damage info coming from enemies soon? More like a lore knowledge information which can collect so we have more information about enemies. Not specifically. This is part of a similar problem to do with honestly the minion damage tooltips, where the skills they're using come from so many different places. It's way less bad with enemies actually, but yeah, not yet. But a bestiary type thing where like there's we've actually had a panel like that in the game just disabled for a long time that we just haven't had a chance to really finish and polish enough to turn on. Yeah, something like that could be integrated really easily into the game guide. I've always thought the game guide has a strong connection personally to the Civilopedia, as an example. So like that's why there's like links in there that just take you to another page, and like that connection back and forth, like it's like a Wikipedia article almost type thing where you can just like keep clicking and finding new things that are new pages, which I really think that's important to have. So maybe minions or enemies could be worked into that as well, like details about what's in the game. What about sockets in gear or runeword types of enchants, kind of like lab enchants from PoE? Yeah, sockets and runewords, this is a question I get a fair bit. Socketing systems are basically our shard system. It's basically the same thing. Items have 4 sockets. You can socket in different shards that are affixes for it, and it's basically just a socketing system. That is our main crafting system. So it's really hard to straight up add sockets to. Do this again. It's difficult to add sockets to an item that basically already has 4 sockets, and make it feel unique and distinct and different, and not just okay. Now it has more sockets. Great. But we have been talking about socket systems, and I think one of the really great things about runewords is that they have this, like, okay, there's this super rare thing that drops, and this is a piece to something that I know that I want. So you get like a jaw rune, and you're like, and D2 example again, because I always use D2 examples. You get a jaw rune that drops, fantastic. I'm halfway to an enigma. You get your burr rune to drop, great. I've got what I need from enigma. I just grab a chest piece and my Ith rune, and definitely made that mistake before. And you've got your item, and it's that like multi-use piece that can be used to make different things, but is super rare in itself. That I think was what made runewords so exciting and so successful. So we are looking at ways to incorporate that style of that feeling, that style of item, those types of things, and into our game. But if it's directly a socket runeword system, unlikely. Partially because there's part of the reason that system works so well is because of how the other systems in Diablo 2 work with their crafting and their items, and there's all sorts of things that work together to make it all work well. So you can't just transplant that little component, one individual component of their item system, and put it into a different game and have it work properly. I don't think runewords would work as well in our game as they do in Diablo 2. I mean, they'd probably be sweet, but they would cause problems with other systems. And we like to, make our own game and have things be unique to us and all that sort of stuff as well. We're not just trying to make D2 again. Which, I mean, I'm sure no one really complained that much, but, we're making our own game. Hey-ya! Alright, will there be any restrictions to on trade? Can you share any information or ideas that are being considered? We're all dying for an update in the old Bazaar post forums. Yeah, I can't really give you much. I go back and watch. There's if you want to find it quickly, there's a recap from last, maybe it was 2 episodes ago or last episode of Aaron's video, the Action RPG video that is the recap of this stream, and it goes into what I've described about the trading system a little bit and some goals that we're hoping to have with it. But yes, there will be restrictions. It won't be as simple as just trade anything, anyone, anywhere, anytime. Because that's effectively just PoE system, which is like it's the same thing I was saying earlier about runewords. Like it's a different game, so we can't just pick their system up and put it in our game for all the same reasons I just said. Why don't you make it a passive in Detonate Corpse instead of a new skill then? As soon as it's talking about the volatile zombie and dead. There's it's a really surprisingly deep question. Corpse interaction in a multiplayer environment is really, 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 really tricky. especially when that resource can get used up by other players, because like dead bodies become a resource suddenly. It's like if you had a shared mana pool with someone else online, and they were using a really mana heavy skill, and you wanted to use a really mana heavy skill. You just wanted whoever uses it first gets it, and the other person has to suffer, which kind of sucks. And so yeah, we will still have corpse interaction in a different way, but that skill detonate dead the way it's showing now it's a lot more fun as volatile zombie, I think. Yeah. I think that's the most important reason of why not just do that, because it's more fun this way. At least we think it is. All right, our boss fights getting updates, more moves, tells, phases, transformations, etc. There's not a lot of them getting updated this patch. They will get updates as we go for sure. Especially later bosses will get more advancements and improvements. There was a forum post or a Reddit post or somewhere I was reading it talking about people were talking about an early boss at the end of Chapter B, and the post was basically like it's too simple, it needs more moves, that sort of stuff. And the response I saw from a lot of people, which was like the criticism that it's too simple is totally fair, by the way. I don't want to discount that at all. But the response that I was seeing from a lot of people is that it's early in the game, and having super complex bosses early can turn people off of the game if they struggle too hard with it. And which I think is a great point. So, and that's not to say that they won't get any changes at all, but later bosses we do tend to put more complex mechanics in later bosses because we expect people who are playing later on in the game to have more experience with the game, just by the nature of you have to gain experience by playing the game to get to the later game. I guess that should be obvious. But I felt the need to explain it for some reason. And the reason why not a ton of changes happened to bosses this patch is because there's one very new boss that has taken up a lot of the boss design team's time. The Shade of Artemis. Talk about buffs to two-handed weapons. I don't think there's any. I think we're actually nerfing them. No, I'm just kidding. There were some changes made, and I definitely remember what those changes are. I don't remember what those changes were. How strong am I? Can I tank it? Yes, I can. I really want more chest pieces with the Maelstrom levels on it, which I think I've got on a different color. Any ETA on when Infernal Shade trees getting fixed? For it has more use than just minion buff. I don't know. If you've got suggestions on how you'd like that updated, head on over to the forums and make a post. I will read it. Yeah. I like almost just tried to reorganize my tabs, the order that they're in, like just by dragging them. But I realize I can't do that right now. Don't worry, you will. I'm just going to put all of our exalted items in here. It's some semblance of organization. Gloves, damn it. Gloves and boots. Tempest Strike. Yeah, let's see if we can... Boom. Love it. There we go. We're going to move these to... We're going to call this category Organize. All right, let's get this show back on the road, shall we? Are we likely to see equipped weapon altering how the skill is used? Flurry for the rogue, for example, with a bow versus one hand, but for other classes. Maybe that was something new that we added and created for the rogue specifically. We did do it with other classes in mind that might be affected by it. Especially, we talked about when we were talking about whether or not we wanted to have bows be class specific. One of the ones that came to mind very quickly was Serpent Strike on primalist, and letting that require a polearm or a bow, and then having the tree change from that and doing something similar. And then there was another one too that we talked about. Can't remember exactly what it was, but yes, short answer, yes. We do little things like Warpath has the VFX changes slightly, and things like that. Like, there's not huge mechanical changes, but yes, we that's a tool that we will keep in our back pocket for future skills. We won't just use it willy-nilly. It is part of the thing that helps keep the rogue feel unique. So it's a mechanic that only exists on the rogue, and like I mentioned earlier, one of our design pillars is class identity. So having a unique mechanic on a class helps make it more unique, and brings out that class identity. So it is something that we are not saying will forever be rogue only, but I'd say we're more likely to see it rogue again before we see it somewhere else. That might not be true either. We might see it somewhere else first. Are cycles going to be a part of launch or come later? The very first, like, we'll start doing cycles right away. The very first league or cycle will effectively be the like launch patch. So like there's going to be lots of stuff happening on the launch patch. It's not just going to be like, okay, we're now 1.0, just how it was, but start over again. You know, like that's not how we're going to do the first cycle, but so I mean, you can kind of say that the first cycle is the launch cycle. It's hard to make a distinction because every patch we add new stuff. And so I guess you'd say that the first cycle is the launch cycle, which is unique just because we've added more stuff like we always do every patch. Hope that answered the question. Kind of rambling and meandering. Should we expect new lore with the new patch? There's not a ton of new lore stuff coming in, I don't think. There is a full overhaul to the map, which will have a ton of lore implications for the Eagle-Eyed. Zones are getting moved. Details of other events are put into context based on their positioning now. So there's a lot of, I call it, incidental lore that's happening next patch, but there's not a major entry into the patch. Run! I don't know if my stats are good enough to tank that. There we go. Whoa. I already played several different characters and builds. I have to say that I noticed hard FPS drops for some builds, like Shadow Dagger. Could you give us some information if you're looking into this problem or if you have any solutions soon? Yes, definitely. We are always looking into performance problems, and while it may not seem... Oh, if we can strip that melee damage while transformed off of that. Oh my god. I might just use it as is. Not risk messing with it. Let's just use it as is. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'll put that there, sure. That feels good. I don't know if I'll bring myself to craft on that anytime soon. Yep, put that point back. Get that area up. Yep. Drop that area down a bit. Beautiful. That feels good. Yes, details on performance problems. I was talking about that. Then I got a great job. We are working on a pooling system for basically spells and abilities, which is no simple thing to do, but I believe it's coming along really well. We've also optimized our lighting system for abilities, so lights can be used in ability VFX, so that they look better and are not performance drains. So yes, sometimes performance improvements don't manifest as performance improvements, but rather as VFX and visual, just generally visual improvements. Because we'll have done something in a specific way so that the performance is better, and then a performance update happens and lets us make it look better without sacrificing performance. So sometimes the performance updates aren't always apparent, on what they are. But the VFX improvements that you're going to see over the course of the next couple patches are actually performance improvements, and us unleashing our wonderful VFX artist to be able to do what he can. Unleashing his full potential instead of hamstringing him. Maybe unique gems like Diablo 3. Okay, yeah, you're talking about... I am far behind, aren't I? Yep, sorry about that, guys. And let's talk about the socketing system referring to unique gems. Yeah, there's... That was in the conversation that we had about it for sure. Should take a second and just catch up on chat and answer a bunch of questions. Currently, boss fights are pretty uninspired. Aw. Do you plan to revisit bosses to make them more into a challenge? Like, we're always working on different parts of the game, and boss fights are no exception. So there's certain boss fights that that'll get love before others. But for example, the next major boss fight that'll probably get a big change will be the Omen of Silence. One of the major ways we're looking at updating boss fights in general is giving them a little bit more of a presence pre and post fight, just to help with story narratives. So sometimes that's in the case of a chapter boss, maybe there's a cutscene afterwards. Maybe there's an entrance animation with, I think I mentioned this before, that I really liked the Butchers in Diablo 3's entrance animation where you bust open that gate. I always thought that was pretty cool. Alright. How far behind am I? Yeah, fairly. Oh my god! Ha! Calculated. Oh my goodness me. Oh, there were a couple of guys there. Okay. Deep breath. Would love to see additional filter options. Kind of something like only show items with at least 2 or more. Yeah, the and or logic in affixes is something we do want to add. It will not be in next patch. Sorry. One-handed bow style. Yeah, like that's another option. It would have to be a different a different base type, because the handedness of our items is base type related. So all one-handed swords have to be one-handed. All bows right now have to be, I guess they're technically one-handed, aren't they? Are we gonna give us some kind of damage meter? Oh, like a WoW DPS meter type thing? Not this patch, that's for sure. It's something we've talked about. It's something we're not huge fans of. But you know, never say die. Would love an SS being Serpent Strike being bow as well. Yeah, it's a cool idea, but we weren't ready to tackle that for many reasons that patch, so we held off on it. And it's not, the conversation's not dead on it, but it's not happening yet, at least. Any plans on making the top half of passives for mastery classes have better or more unique build changing passives? I feel like the top half of mastery passives be more unique and build changing. That's the goal, and most of them are. There's a lot less just flat stats up there. There's usually more complex mechanics that are triggered buffs or are more thematic buffs to that specific mastery, and that's something that'll continue and get more apparent. There's certain classes that are less that do that less well, and those are definitely getting looked at and updated. Oh, another one. Pull that shard off in case we mess up the other item. We had a couple passive points. Right, the totems cannot be stunned. It's probably actually useful just to grab. Are we due for a spoiler yet? Maybe. How important is performance right now for the team? Can we expect it to, except the closer it gets to full release, the better it gets? Asking because recent problems in PoE, which turned away a lot of players' performance, is really key, enjoyable gameplay. Yeah, performance is a major thing that we have in mind every single patch. It's never takes a backseat. Yeah, so every patch is a important performance patch. Not sure if this has been asked before, but how long will each season league be? We don't know yet. That will depend on how much we want to put into them, how like complex they are, that sort of stuff. That I think one of the things that Path of Exile does really well. I mean, this is the obvious big comparison that we can draw from. One of the things that Path of Exile does really well is their consistency, their reliability in these patch timings. So if we can work out something that is where people know, okay, every X months there's always going to be a major content drop, or maybe every X times 2 there's going to be a major content drop, and every X there's going to be a minor one or something like that. Like there's, who knows what it's actually going to be yet, but I guess you'd hope I would be the one that would know. But yes, we do plan on having it be a regular cadence, and that wasn't your question. It was how long is it going to be? And the answer to that is, unfortunately, I do not know. Are we going to get more tight tile sets that feel inside a building? Everything feels wide and oversized. I crave for confinedness. Yeah, there's that's an interesting topic, actually. And probably, yes. Not right away. But yes, I can see that being something that happens. And we always add in, there's new tile sets that get added, and new when new areas get added in the game, and there'll be opportunities for that. Are you aware of a hammer throw glitch where hammer disappears out of your hands like they are hitting something? Yes, there are several zones where this happens. It is not a problem with hammer throw itself. Hammer throw is working perfectly. It is a problem with the zone, and we are aware that this does happen sometimes. If you have found a spot where it's happening unexpectedly, please post that as a bug report on our forums, and we will fix it. It is not difficult to fix, but it is difficult to find every single little area where it can possibly happen. So a couple get missed here and there. We usually try and we use hammers as the, because it's not just hammers. Shields will do it. Daggers will do it. There's lots of abilities that have this problem. Hammers is the easiest one to test with, though, and the one that finds it the most, because of the speed they travel at, the path they travel on, and you don't need a target to cast them. So we do use hammers to check them most of the time. Part of it is just like making sure we do a playthrough on a hammer build before each patch comes out.
Impossible.
Imagine not risking it all for the biscuit. Oh, this was... Well, I'm far behind. Sorry. Maybe I'll scroll and catch up, and we can... If I missed your question, there weren't that many questions, actually. Any plans to improve certain impact sounds in combat? Some sounds feel really underwhelming when compared to the look and power of the respective skill. We're always looking for feedback on this. If you've got specific skills that you'd like updated, please head on over to our forums. Leave a suggestion post. Give some skills that you want to have better sounds, and we'll get on it. Can you guys make it even clearer when you enter a new chapter? Right now, it goes away so fast you can barely even notice it. Yeah, those little it doesn't show here for that. But the little like chapter whatever name. Yes. We don't have it's not set in stone exactly what we're gonna do yet, but I suspect it will be something small like a little like mini cinematic similar to the one that appears when you first select your character. Those are, I think, really nice style of cinematic, and not exorbitantly expensive, which is a nice upside for us. And keeping the style similar throughout is, I think, a valuable thing to do when designing things like that. News from Druid Shapeshift. We are updating a lot of stuff with that, so it's going to be a visual and mechanical overhaul. That will be part of 8.3, not 8.2. Two questions. Why is ForgeGuard Smelter's Wrath so lackluster? Why are you adding that plant boss that is the cosmetic background from the Ruined Era? Did I read that wrong? When are you adding that plant boss that is the cosmetic background from the Ruined Era? I don't know which one you're talking about. I'm sorry. Not this patch. Maybe the one after. Will we see a pass on the enemy's AI next patch? It seems to be a bit blind and passive sometimes. Yeah, so the AI is it's actually surprisingly basic, and it's basically the exact same AI for everything that's not you in the game. Like your minions, the enemies, it's all basically the same thing. And we've got each ability that they have has a sort of a range that they're allowed to use abilities in, where they'll like start using it if you're in this range, where they'll pursue you if you run out of the range. There's like 5 different ranges that they have for each ability that they have, and they use those ranges and those abilities to sort of make up their own mind on how they're going to use abilities, and they're all on a priority list. So they like do the first one, see if they're able to get you with the first one. If they can't, then they'll like use the next one, but only if they're in range for any of them before it like aggroes type thing. So there's probably won't be a ton of stuff changed on them. We might increase some ranges, especially in later in the game. Can we have more recolor options for my colorblind self? Like I'm assuming you're talking about the loot filter. We can expand this a bit, yeah. Right now there's 2 of every base color, sort of what it was supposed to be. So like there's 2 in the yellows, 2 in the oranges, 2 in the reds, 2 purples, 2 pinks, 2 purples, 2 blues, 2 teals, 2 greens, and 2 grayscale ones. But I've had a few requests for that, so we might add in a couple more colors. With the new idol grid, huge and ornate idols seem to be taking a big hit, while Adorn seemed really buffed. Thoughts? Yeah. That was one of the big things we were holding out on, because you can get 4 of the square ones in there with the new idol set, and we considered actually like not having it be quite as symmetrical so that you couldn't do that. We're going to be taking a bit of a rebalance pass on those idols because of how they're going to be able to be placed in. They were initially put in at equal value, I guess you could say, just because they were like you could have 4 of any of those before, and now you can only have 4 of the square ones and not the vertical or horizontal 1x4s, 4x1s. Disintegrate and a few other skills also don't work in some areas. Yeah. So if you come into a spot where a ranged ability, so the reason Disintegrate doesn't work is the same reason that hammers don't work. It's not the skills problem, it's the area's problem. If you find an area that doesn't work, put that in a post and we will get it good. Any chance we can expect more totem trap mine skills will be coming in the game? Yes. I love having the feeling that all the throwing skills are very hard to build upon. You have the feeling that they're all hard to build upon. There's a lot of passives do not work with them, and the base damage is hard to come by. Do you have any plans regarding it? Am I doing something wrong? They're less, I would say, obvious ways to build them, so you're not really doing something wrong. We very intentionally don't have any weapons with base damage that affects throwing skills, because you're not throwing the actual weapon, right? But there are affixes that can show up on them that are quite good for it. We try and balance it around that. Like the base damage on a throwing skill is like the base damage on hammer throw is way higher than the base damage on vengeance, for example. I think vengeance is 1. And throwing skills, the base damage is like hammer throw. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Someone I'm sure knows, but I bet it's closer to like 10. How many patches before 090? At least 1. Aaron, Mike request / question. Any talk about allowing loot filter recolor to beam up like uniques, gimme please. Yeah, that is a request we get a lot. So I'll just go over really quickly loot filter requests that we get a lot that we're considering and would like to probably do. Being able to select affixes with an like and or style thing, so you can say you could put specifically only show me items that have exactly these 4 affixes that have at least 14 total tiers in them, maybe. So something like that would that's a request we get a lot. More colors, a list of sounds to go with it, fixing the emphasize, which we will, having like a beam option and map icon option. The hard thing about the map icon option and the beam option is that it's a performance impact to do this. And part of the reason we're okay with putting unique items in there is because we know for sure, you can set items, we know for sure that you're not going to see 30 unique and set items drop all at once from a single place. That's just, well, it's possible, but the chances are astronomical. I know people have since then suggested on restricting that type of thing to only be possible on unique, set, or possibly exalted items, which I think is a really good suggestion. So it's things we're looking at. All right. I kind of want to get some quest echoes up in here. Disintegrates the Dalek of Ellie's skills and can't go upstairs. It should fire up ramps pretty well. Been a long time making that work because we were releasing Disintegrate and that zone with all the sewers all the same patch, so it was like we're gonna release a zone and the skill that doesn't work together. So I spent a long time making it work on slopes. One of the test scenes we have has a whole bunch of like weird terrain that I made for it to test in different slope scenarios, and it's really tricky to make it work in every one of them. But yeah, stairs kind of suck. Will there be more weapon-like Reaper style weapon? Oh, like a scythe base weapon type. That's a good example of another base type that we don't have yet. That is a trap if I've ever seen one. That's a really good example of a base type that we don't have in the game that may show up at some point. I'm trying to say that in a way without being like, yeah, it's coming! Because I don't know if we will or not, but maybe. There's a lot of stuff that comes with new base types, and it's down to things that might not seem that crazy, but like, for example, if we add a new base type that primalist can use, then especially if it's well, basically for every melee attack we have to make sure it works. So like the animation for Tempest Strike is different than the animation for Swipe, right? And it's different again for Serpent Strike, and it's different again for Basic Attack. Actually, Basic Attack is pretty basic, but yeah, like, so every time we add a new skill, animations have to be set for that skill, and every time we add a new weapon type, all the animations have to be set for all of the skills going with that weapon. So there's sort of this multiplicative effect with base weapon types and new skills that come into play with animations. So every time we add one, it multiplies the number of animations we need by the number of the other in that category. Yeah. Animations take a lot of work. That's something I could see being cool to have. So I mentioned this earlier when we just started the stream, but now we've got a lot more people here, so it's a good time to mention it again. On Wednesday next week at 2 hours earlier than normal streaming time, so 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Western or Pacific time, will be a special stream featuring our VFX artist, Sam. We are going to be updating the VFX of one of our older skills live on stream. Here is a link to that. You can go vote on which one you want us to do. This is another behind the scene, how it's made type thing. I know we got requests for a few different things, but this is one that we're comfortable producing quickly. So this is the one we're going with first. But we're looking at other types of how it's made style streams. We did get a few requests for like coding ones, and we're less comfortable exposing the game code directly on a stream, so that probably won't happen. But yeah, we are looking at more types of those to do. So you've got more suggestions on those. Also, I don't want to influence the vote. Vote for whichever skill you think needs the biggest update visually. Some of those skills are also slated for mechanical updates as well. Is there a timeline for when some of the existing skills will get skill trees, e.g. sentinel stances? I have really good and really bad news for you. The really good news is, by launch, every single skill in the game will have a skill tree. Not every skill that's currently in the game will be getting a skill tree. There are some skills that the base versions of them are just not really what we're looking for in a skill once we started designing skill trees. And they've been in the game so long that we want to avoid the total number of skills going down. So we haven't removed them yet, but you may have noticed that pretty well every time we patch in a major patch, there's new skills that get added to a class and old skills that get removed from that same class simultaneously. So as we add in new skills, we'll be removing some older skills, but there are some other skills that don't have a skill tree yet that will be getting skill trees. And I was gonna mouse over an example of that right now, but there are none in Druid. Let's make a one that's also keys. Really sucks that these don't stack. Whose silly idea was that? Definitely not mine. It was mine. Nope. Yes. Beautiful. That's what we like to see. Yes, Quest Echo. All right. Here we go. Bosses sometimes drops health potions to unreachable places. Do you have a plan to fix this? We try really hard to make it not happen. It's really hard to do. This is one of those things where it's like performance isn't necessarily worth fixing something like this. We've got a lot of things in place to try and make this not happen. It's very expensive. Oh, I forgot this is actually Raya. Okay. It's very computationally expensive to guarantee that where things drop is a reachable area. It's not impossible, but it is computationally...
My shadow will cover this world.
I knew I wasn't ready for that fight. I went for it anyways. Okay. Well, we've got a little work to do on our gear, it looks like. I don't know if I'm ready to try and strip that affix off. I just add more to it. We're just adding to it. We're not. I'm sorry. I'm wussing out, guys. It's happening. Already fractured. Health. Health seems like a good thing to upgrade. Cold damage. Is that... That's increased. Yeah, that's good. Yuck. Yuck. Oh, it's damaging fracture. Alright, we need void res. We need void res. Bad. Yeah, let's work on some gloves to get some void res in here. Where do we want the base to be? This is the base we want right there. It's got bad stuff on there. Crusader gauntlets. I'm walking away from the shop. When I reach level 75 to 80, I feel like I'm running out of interesting passives in classes' skill trees to put points in. I start putting points back in the ones I originally avoided. It feels like I ran out of choices. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, we're actually making a change to the passive tree. I teased it a few weeks ago here. That'll bring it horizontal to a full-size panel instead of a vertical one. You may notice that there's it's a little crowded, so we try and have unique shapes in the tree. So like at a glance you can kind of tell what tree you're looking at and where things are. But it's a little crowded. So we are with the layout change, we're able to space it out a bit, but also add more columns that are now rows, which will give us a little more space to add more nodes. So they'll be a little bit more node dense. There's this sort of weird, like conflicting goals that happens where you're trying to have really interesting effects that are really specific and niche effects that like do really specific things, so that it makes them interesting. But suddenly you have to make enough broad ones that if someone's taking a build that doesn't fit into any of the really niche nodes, they still have something that gives them something that's useful. Not really explaining this very well. So with more space on the tree physically in the layout, we'll be able to add more of both styles of nodes that'll hopefully alleviate this problem a little bit. And also some classes trees are kind of boring, so you may have picked some of the ones that are a little older and don't do this as well. Are there and it also is, we also do hope that people will be dipping into other trees to grab some nodes as well. And this is also, I keep remembering things, this is also why we added this section of the passive base tree as well, where there's interesting things up here that are quite useful to go back to after you've hit that cap. Any plans for different kinds of potions or change out the potion mechanic? No. If you've got suggestions, feel free to head over to the forums and leave a post about it, but most of our potion augment come from your belt. And that's something that we do like right now, but there are some passives that do it. We like having this be something that you build in instead of another item to find. It's possible that we may do... I do like the Diablo 3 style where there's like you find a potion augment and it like replaces your base potion slot. I actually think that's pretty cool. I'm not saying we're going to do that. We've intentionally not done that, but... There are things we're considering. Okay, let's gamble a few bases and see if we get anything that'll help us out.
You have a good eye. Maybe it'll help you along the way.
That's not a bad starting point.
Interesting. interested in another try?
It's my third time you're dev stream, and I have to say you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I like to think I'm doing a great job too. I don't have much experience with this whole streaming thing though, so if you have advice for me, feel free to hit me with some advice. Oh, it's good. That sound is not quite good enough. Like, it's good sound, but it's not like a good sound. I don't know if it makes any sense there. That was a bad thing that happened for a split second. Alright, any plans for damage ailment balance changes? Some are super nerfed as poison, and overall seems their base damage could be higher. There's no major plans for this, but if you have specific suggestions, head on over to the forums and leave a post there. The little things like that are getting always tweaked here and there. With the first cycle at 1.0, has it been officially decided if beta multiplayer online saves will be placed in the standard cycle or migrated and merged with our offline saves or wiped entirely? If not, will this information be known closer to multiplayer launch or 1.0? We don't have a hard statement for this yet. We are looking at a lot of different things. I'd say we're not really sure exact enough on this for me to give you a clear thing. I think there's a lot of really good arguments for basically every option you just listed. Unlikely the wiped entirely option though. We're not a big fan of deleting your stuff, and we try not to do it whenever we can. The only time we've ever done a wipe or deletion was when we were like, we have no other option here. It's wipe it or break it, you know? Because we know that there's like a lot of people are putting in a lot of time and effort and helping us a lot by playing our game before it's really done and ready, giving us tons of great feedback. So we don't want to sour that experience for you guys by just nuking everything you've put a lot of time and effort into. Can we have some better screen setup for when you showcase art creation? Feels a bit weird. Not see anything but your skill bar and hear primalist grunting. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was not fantastic. And yes, we will get that be a little cleaner next time. Sorry about that. Will there be 1,000 separator for gold next patch? Oh, like a comma in here? Yeah. I actually, there's something we did that for in the, nope. This? Nope. What am I doing? That doesn't have it either. Somewhere I did this for recently. I know how to do it now. This? Yeah, it was this. Okay, when your like health and threshold for this tooltip get really big, there's comma separators in that text formatting there, and it's done properly and quickly and all that sort of stuff. So yes, that will be that'll be in. I'll put a little note for myself here. Gold comma separator 4,000/million/billion. I'm actually working on the new inventory panel before and after this stream. The new defense system has been made iconic. Has made the iconic damage conversion for Sentinel quite useless. Have you guys thought on reworking it into something like damage absorption from D2? We've been talking about that. There's no hard and fast plans for anything there yet. And I've just gotten to the part in chat where I died. So that's how far behind I am. I have a Raya guide for if you need one. Thanks, Lizard. I probably do need it. What should I put on my prefixes for my gloves here? Attunement would probably be really good. What did I have before? Breeze multi and cold res. What happens to my resistances when I do this? Fire's a little light, but Void's great. Damage over time. Yeah. Yeah. Let's do that. It got me again. I thought it broke. Alright. Mana regeneration, maybe? I think attunement's just the way to go, though. What is going on here? Wow. Alright. You know, not fantastic rolls and everything, but not terrible. I'll take it. I just tried to drag the categories again. It's coming, guys. It's fractured. But that's a good relic base. Yeah, let's see if we can get some more. Another.
Want to go again? Not bad.
What are we getting here? Lightning, strength, not ultra interested. Any of these? No.
That's a winner. Interested in another try?
Let's work on some leaks. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. This is a little tease here from there's an
Maybe it'll
upcoming
help you along the way.
update to some things that appear frequently in the monolith.
bad.
So here's a little sneak peek view of what they look like coming up. This is the flame spire. So all of them are getting, all of the spires are getting a facelift, and you'll see some more details on that on a post either today or tomorrow, I think. Maybe the next day, maybe the day after that, but soon. Loving the audio music. Props to your audio team. Thank you very much. I will let them know. Are you planning to rework some mastery passives from older classes like Sorcerer to give them more flexible nodes like the Rogue ones? Yeah, we're looking at going back and checking all of them. Hey, sorry I'm late. Stupid 4-letter word called worker? Yeah, gold amount readable 1, 2, 3, 5. Yep. I know last week you guys said you were working on raising the damage two-handed versus dual wield. Is that going to be coming? Two-handed feels a bit weaker than dual wield. Yeah, I think that some changes will be happening there. Make critical success sound similar to the sound of getting a new item in the Zelda game when you win a battle in Final Fantasy VII. Da-na-na, 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 da-na-na-na. Or the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's why I don't sing in the game. Okay, get that out of there. I mean, no endurance threshold, but I think this is actually, it's got some potential to be a nice item with the damage over time in here. Still better, I think. So we're going to call this relics. Where's the relic one? This one. Keep going to grab them. It's coming, guys. It feels really good to be able to organize tabs by dragging them. Whoever's idea that was to not put that in. What silly. And this organizing, this auto sort script needs to, it needs to do columns better. So like you always end up with that column at the end where there's like those. It doesn't realize that so many items are 2 width items. Yeah, I know I've talked about that before, but that sort algorithm could use some love. What do you think, guys? Are we ready to go tackle Raya again? Mike, I was hoping you could elaborate on plans for training dummy. Never understood why ARPG studios don't focus on it. At times I wish I can set the dummy to attack me to test defenses. Thoughts? Yeah, I think that there's a danger in... So I think the reason why you don't see really heavy, just like, here's your training dummy... like build an enemy almost is what it is, really. I think the reason you don't see a lot of build an enemy style objects. Oh, thanks for the raid, Damos G. Welcome to the party, everyone. I'm not good at seeing these things, so, but yeah, thanks for coming to check us out. I think part of the reason, yeah, it's a build an enemy thing, and I think part of the reason why we don't see a lot of games having this too heavily is because people end up relying on really specific details and of like a build and being able to like test it out in the like actual conditions without any risk. It I think it takes away a little bit of the, like, I don't know how to say this, like the fantasy of the character a little bit. Like it becomes like, I know a lot of people are play this sort of game and big into the like the number crunching side of it, and like, don't want to take anything away from that at all. It's just it sometimes gets a little too into that, and having tools for those things does make it a lot easier for people to make those builds, make build guides and things like that. There's I think a danger in like having build guides that end with test the build up by configuring your test dummy this way, and you should be able to get numbers equaling this, and like have a specific DPS meter readout at the same time. That's sort of a request that goes with this. It turns it into like simulation.exe instead of lastepoch.game, you know? That's not to say we won't ever do something like that or have elements that help with that, because right now I agree it's a little on the low side. You'd see in games like WoW, you'd have the like, okay, here's the level 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe they went up by 20s, I can't remember, dummies, and like they have like a raid boss dummy. You could check like, oh, do I ever miss? And that was really useful, and I think it's a very different type of game that does that sort of thing. So I think it's interesting you actually specifically mentioned why ARPGs don't usually do this. I know that we use like a room full of dummies. I've probably shown it at some point. In like different configurations of friendly, enemy, sometimes even defenses, things like that, that we do use to test things. It really doesn't give a great approximation of how skills will actually function in the real world. I know it's a video game, don't worry. But I do know that a lot of people would be really happy to have more robust dummy system, and I don't think that's something we're completely opposed to. I think going all the way to build an enemy is very unlikely to happen. But having a like, here's a level 100 enemy that's considered a boss, that's like flagged as a boss, or an enemy that's flagged as a rare, wouldn't be a terrible thing to test things out. Especially when you have so many mechanics that are working together, and you're like, sometimes are, and this is not a good reason to do it, but I can see this as a reason why people are asking for it, is that because especially we are in early access, not everything works. And I mean, once we've launched, I can't claim that everything will work either, but there's sort of that I would say increased suspicion of, is this actually working, and wanting that clear feedback that it's working and being able to test it to make sure that it is working, and that you're not just wasting points is something that people want, and understandably so as well. So it's that's a really good point for building it now. Now, a reason why I say that's not a good point in total is because we only want to put things in the game that are going to be in the game at launch. We don't want to take things away, because it's really hard to take things away. Once you have like an established group of players that are playing, and we've got there's I would say an established group of players playing already, which is awesome. I might need crit avoidance. More physical res. Yeah, I hope that was an okay answer. Who is your favorite character in the story? There's a great question. I don't know. That's not true, I do know. That's not true, I do know. A certain gambling addict that hangs out in the last refuge is my... I also realized I never re-put these points in after I took this item off and back on again. Yeah, he's my favorite character in the story. I don't know, I just have this like that quest when you first get the quest from, I can't remember his name right now. You first get the quest to like go find his notebook or his ledger, and suddenly he's like, oh, I overheard you, can you go get it, and can you burn it instead, basically, so I don't owe a bunch of money on my gambling debts. Don't gamble money you don't have the ability to lose. Would be my first advice there regards to that. But yeah, it's I like that character. I think it's fun. What am I doing here? Spell damage per active totem. We only really get one active totem, but we do like spell damage, so I'm kind of torn on that one. I'm gonna take it or not. I always go up here. I don't know why. Like, I know it's not that way. Would it be possible to have complete customizable colors for both background and fonts in the loot filter? Could really help things pop out. Sorry, no. That will not be happening anytime soon. We very intentionally don't do that. Mostly because we really take a lot of care in how the game looks and feels, like all the way down to the UI, and giving complete freedom on things like that can leave room for very poor combinations. If there's a specific combination you really want, or maybe a list of specific combinations you really want, I would urge you to head over to the forums and make a post on it. If you've got like Photoshop or GIMP or something like that, it's really easy to make those changes. And if you leave color codes for the ones you really want, even better. We'll take a look at adding some in. It's not terrible to add more onto the list. So if there's specific ones you really want, that's how is best to get them in. But no, we will not be giving just straight hex support or color picker. We did make one initially, and it is so easy to make item labels that just suck. Believe me, I know. Oh, voice is getting a little hoarse. Do you guys plan on letting us mod and run modded servers? Not initially. We don't want to say never on something like that. There is, in order to intentionally make something like that be a reasonable experience for people, it does take a fair bit of dev time to set that up. Oh, spicy! Oh, hot, 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 hot. I am not tanky enough. Not at all. I should be looking at taking some tanky passives. Yeah, so the saying, modding. Yeah, modding something that I think has done wonders for so many games. Like, there's so many games out there that, like, mods have carried these games past the lifespan that they initially could have ever had into just amazing things. Like, and there's lots of games that I love personally that do this. It does add on to the development time, and it does creep our scope up. So it's something that we're not going to be doing initially. I'm not saying never, just because maybe we get to a point where we're like, find an easy way to incorporate it somehow. Yeah. What is the point of affix shards going into the inventory at all? We can pull them out of the forge to trade them. I can see store crafting items. I like the store crafting items button, but it seems redundant. Is there a reason or system that makes not just sending them to the forge to begin with makes sense? Yeah, it's a design thing really more than anything. Let's pull a few of them out. There's a couple reasons for this, and this is not set in stone either. This might change. Part of the reason is just the clarity. So you pick them up and you get a notification of the shards you're getting. Maybe there's specific shards you're looking for and you didn't notice when you picked them up. Doing this, hopefully you get to see those shards again. You get that notification again. There's such a huge list of shards, and this is nowhere near all of them, that it's really hard to notice. If you're looking for a really specific one, sometimes getting that notification that you found the one you're looking for and can use it on a craft is missed, and having it show up in multiple places helps. So even just like having the item exist in your inventory helps you notice them. Having that second notification helps. There's also something to be said for as soon as they don't go into your inventory, they're no longer items really. They're just a resource, and like mechanically and functionally, yeah, sure, that's what they are. We are really trying to present them as an item, and keeping that feeling of this is an item is important to us. Now we do understand that there's so many of them, they drop quite frequently, and yeah, we don't necessarily want that to stay that way forever. So maybe things change, maybe they don't. Right now, it's not immediately slated for changes. Never pull a harvest, eh? I don't want to get into that too deep, but like, I mean, Harvest did have a lot of really cool mechanics and ideas, and it really it excited people, like, in the community, like their imagination around it, and there's a lot of really awesome things. And I think as soon as there's discourse about it, like people are talking about it, it's doing something right, you know? Takes guts to take risks like that, which I'm glad people are doing. I'd love to see some further details on just how different dots scale in the game guide. Yeah. Dots don't really scale differently than anything else. They use their damage type. That's about it. But yeah, I could see that being something that goes in the crafting the game guide. I think the reason it could go in the game guide is because it's different than PoE. Is the short answer. A lot of stuff that goes in the game guide is just things that are different than PoE, and we get a lot of people coming over from PoE that like assumptions are made that it's the same because it's like a really core mechanic. It's something that's pretty straightforward. It's pretty basic. It's intrinsic to a lot of things. And why wouldn't it be different, right? Or why would it be different? Why wouldn't it be the same? So I can see that. Urza. Yes. Urza is, I also love that, like, so, when the name Urza was brought up, I was like, oh, that's sweet. You guys know what that's from, right? And everyone's like, no, Mike, what are you talking about? So like the magic tie-in wasn't even like didn't no idea when he made the name for it, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Uniques. I play a lot of Magic. Well, I used to play a lot of Magic. I think about Magic a lot. There we go. It's more accurate. Strixhaven looks awesome. I hope to get some of it and play it at some point. Doesn't look anywhere near as Harry Potter as I was expecting, which I do like Harry Potter, but whoops. Okay, we're starting to get our inventory and stash organized a little bit. Try not to spend too much time on that. I should have popped this up while I was doing it. Let's take a look and do some crafting maybe. Oh, what's this? Doesn't look like a normal crafting panel. I had good news today, and I am happy. I'm so. Let me try this again. I had good news today, so I am happy. And you guys' game is amazing. I'm looking forward to what it will become in the future. Thanks, bud. I appreciate that. I love hearing when people are enjoying our game. So thanks. Where were you Were you always sure you wanted to have floating damage numbers in the game? Yeah, that's something that got discussed a lot. There's some people that don't like them. You can turn them off. If you don't like them yourself, it's the settings. But yeah, it was a pretty early decision. We'll be able to see hours played and deaths of a character. I know it's something people have requested. We don't have it slated yet, but deaths tracked, really not hard to do for us. Hours is a little trickier, but I feel like we can do that. So probably, because it's something that most games have like this. Have you ever thought about setting a loot filter for the crafting mats that hit the ground? Yes, we definitely have. How would you describe the difficulty curve and the overall progression scaling? I would say that the campaign starts very, very easy. If you've ever tried to die in the very first zone, good luck. The end game content gets considerably harder. So like I'm only here. And I like to think I'm not terrible at this game, but I died to the boss, and I died the first time I hit the boss here, the Undead A-Bomb. And so, like, it definitely scales up and gets significantly harder for these ones, and then empowered again and gets even harder. So, like, I like to think that the scaling gets up there. There's definitely some builds that are extremely powerful. I think may trivialize some of that content, but it's not meant to be trivialized. I think that speaks more to the builds than the content itself. I would say the scaling of the overall game is like a curve like this. Hard. Yes. Oh my god, I can't do that sideways. I think it kind of goes like this. Right now, which I think is pretty good. It's roughly how it goes. Yeah. I have a few to me good ideas for big supporter package design wise, but what happens if those ideas are refused? Can I resuggest until accepted designs is agreed upon? So are you talking about for the design a unique item? Yeah. So the way that works, if there's, we try as hard as we can to make the first idea work. Really, the one you really want the most. There are certain limitations on that. If things are like mechanically just not possible, we sometimes have to just say no. If things are out of universe, we have to say no. So like if you wanted a nail gun, we're not going to do a nail gun. Sorry. If you want a like if you want a like Glamdring sword and you want it to be specifically it's sword from the Hobbit. If you want like that specific name, we can't because it's like we'd get in trouble if we took names specifically like that from other fantasy pieces. So there's certain things like that we just can't do. The final balance of an item does lie with us. So if you're like, oh, I really want an item that does this mechanically, and we can make that work, we will. But if it's just like broken, overpowered, we have to turn knobs down. And usually we try and make unique items with enough knobs we can turn that we don't have to remove mechanics or add downsides, but so that we can balance them that way by just turning down the power of individual mechanics. I guess I could talk about what we were seeing on the screen for a second here too. This is a concept for the new forging panel. We're really trying to make it more intuitive and more clear what's happening with where the items go and how they're affecting the thing you're crafting on. So this is likely very similar to what the crafting panel will look like after next patch. You may notice that there's a giant thing missing from it. That is now a new window in itself. That sits separately. Yeah. How do we turn this off? There it is. Back to me. Hi guys, how's it going? Speaking on filters, one thing that came to mind when I see the loot on the ground is how hard it is to tell what dropped visually, not the best at the moment. Any thoughts on improving visibility of items on the ground? Do you mean like the... Hey guys, I'm breaking stuff. No big deal. No big deal. Do you mean the like 3D model that sits on the ground, or the actual text? So if you're talking the 3D model, we don't have a ton of stuff for that immediately coming down the pipe, although we do want to improve that. Yeah. What do you think about slowing down the level up speed in early to mid game and making hitting 100 super long-term goal to hit? I feel like the campaign feels a bit rushed at how fast you level up. Early to mid and end game hitting 100 is a bit too fast. Yeah, I think the time to 100 is too fast for sure. I think that personally I would like to see time to 100 be a lot more similar to something like Diablo 2, where like you could have a level 70 character do basically, well, they can do the whole game easily, and like we try and make that be a possibility because the super high levels that you get have a lower and lower impact percentage-wise on your build, survivability, damage, all that sort of stuff. Oh my god, guys. Guess what? I caught up to live on the questions. The crowd goes wild. How we doing here? We're just about to round out 2 hours into this, I think. You know what? We're gonna go to the top of the hour, and then we are going to call it. Thank you. Quick, spam more questions. Yeah, get me so that I don't see what's going on. Goes mild. It's about right, eh? Impossible. Can we please be able to move werebear skills on the bar? Sure. Not in this patch. I didn't answer your question on Smelter's Wrath on Forge Guard. I'm sorry. I must have missed it. Can you repeat it, please? I mean, the actual text of the loot. Yeah, so the... if you're having a hard time seeing the actual text of the loot, I'm not sure what's wrong there. Yeah, I don't know what to say there. It's hard to say what the problem is. Like you're having a tough time reading the stuff on the ground. I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer for that. The talk of sockets and runes. What are your thoughts on adding stronger shards that could add higher tiers as boss drops rewards high content, rewarding high content? Yeah, I mean there are like certain shards don't drop until higher content already. But yeah, like having unique things that can only drop as shards from high-end runes. We can make it so that affixes can't drop on here, but it can drop as a shard. It doesn't feel like a socketing system to me still. And capturing that same feeling really. I say this with the knowledge of I'm trying to skirt like just flat out saying what we've talked about doing as socketing systems, because we have talked about them quite a bit. We almost implemented one at one point, actually. Ooh, yep, that was a little spicier than I was prepared for. Any chance of leading similar skills to traps, mines from PoE? Not exactly the same, but there's like that style of ability. Traps, mines, yeah. Does Alric have a bigger role to play in the rest of the story? I don't know. I don't know at all. I'm sorry. Can we have a beholder in the game? I love beholders. Most cutest thing ever. There's things that are kind of similar a little bit. The eyes, the floating eyes that look kind of like the. I always think they look like the Matrix Seeker Sentinels. Kind of similar, a little bit. Mike, leak third transform for Druid. Just make a sound for the animal. There's no way I can make that sound. I'm sorry. I physically just can't do it. There's no way. I just think it's a bit small. Just to scale the size of them. It's possible that we might do something where it scales all of them, but we really want them to stay same as each other. I remember me mentioning a couple weeks ago some mana-related changes to help builds that use a lot of mid-cost skills. Can you tell us more? If I didn't just imagine it. You didn't just imagine it. We're changing base mana regen. We're changing the values on mana regen affixes and some passives. We're tweaking some mana values of some skills and their damage output on a couple skills too. Like base damage numbers. What else? Switching up some places where mana regen is on certain items, like which items they can appear on, stuff like that. What are your plans for party-based endgame? Something like WoW or fewer people? Definitely fewer people than WoW. There will be no 40-man and 25-man, 10-man raids. Yeah. I can't really go much more detail than that. What kind of drops will the new boss have? Honestly, I don't know if we've assigned that yet. I read something about fracturing going away and changing a lot. It has a spot in that mock-up, though. What gives? Yep, that's a good observation. We may have done more than one mock-up. We may not have. Who knows? I don't know where you heard that. It might have been from someone speculating. I did show you that mock-up very carefully because it does... it is the version you'll be seeing likely in 8.2. Yeah. Why is Smelter's Wrath so weak for level 34 Dread skill? It shouldn't be. It's not quite properly designed. I'm sure it'll be getting some love. Will there be more options for forging mechanically in the next patch? Or will there be a facelift to the UI? For now, all I can guarantee is a facelift to the UI. However, we are working on some pretty big mechanical changes for it that may or may not appear in the next patch. Any plans to make different resource system for classes? No. Seriously, you can't make a llama sound? I don't think I could. in layman's terms, can you try and explain why it's so definitive on 25 to 40 man raids? Yeah. None of our abilities and game systems are designed for that many people to exist simultaneously. All of WoW's skills and game mechanics and interclass mechanics and all those things are all designed for that many people to be there. There's a lot of times that we talk about skills when we're designing them and we say, okay, what's this going to look like if we have 5 people all using this skill? Or what's it going to look like if we have 2 people using this skill and 2 people using another skill? And please don't take the 5 that I just said as the number of people that are going to be in a party, because I'm just using that as an example. But what I mean is, like, we all often look at how it looks and feels with 1, 2, 3, 4 people in a party using it, or you using it with multiple people using some other skill or something like that. A good example of this would be skeletons and paladin aura. How's it going to look if there are 2 people, or like 2 necromancers and a paladin with an aura? Like, is there going to be maybe a zookeeper as well, or a beastmaster? Sorry. So there's a lot of minion classes and then a big buffing class. Suddenly, what if there's 39 minion classes and 1 buffing class? Like, how does that balance change with that? Once again, like, what if there's 39 people with wraiths? What's that going to do to frame rates? So there's a lot of things like that we design our skills around the smaller number of people. What, if any, product do I use in my beard? I use like just a dandruff shampoo on my beard because it keeps it from flaking, and a comb. Very similar, just basic, simple wooden comb. That's it. Sometimes I make some oil and put it in, but not a lot. Zookeeper form. Form of Zookeeper. Alright, well, I think that's about it for today. Thank you guys for coming with awesome questions. I had a ton of fun. I hope you did too. Hopefully next week we'll be able to actually take down Raya. I might try and craft some new gear between now and then so I'm a little bit less crappy. I might not. Who knows? Has 5 shamans casting Aftershock Avalanche on mobs crashed the game yet? Yes, it has. But yeah. So thanks for coming out, everyone. Appreciate all of you. Just going to do this. Raid now has an O in it, guys. We'll see you next week. Same time. Also Wednesday, 2 hours earlier than normal. We got a special VFX stream. If you are interested in checking out how the sausage is made with VFX, come check us out. 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific. Next week, Wednesday. We'll have Sam here for you. See you guys. Have a good day.